Okay guys, welcome back to another video. Must apologise for the lighting, it's still a bit early, but I'm just going to do a quick video about something that's really, I've thought a lot about recently. So, just to give some context, because I'm going to talk about sales in this, but I think it really applies to anything, basically. So basically, I've got this sales job I'm doing at the moment, this door-to-door sales, effectively. And, you know, what they taught us, what they teach us is, and if you've ever done a door-to-door sales job, I'm sure they tell you a similar thing, is basically there are two things that make up how good a salesperson is. One is like, they're just skill, they're raw skill, like they're, how well they know the scripts, how well they can overturn objections, what's their sort of, how well they're smiling, all this kind of stuff. And then there's a second thing, which is their mentality, kind of, aside from the actual skill they produce. Like, are they thinking those positive thoughts when they're walking in between doors? You know, do they feel like a sign-up's coming, or do they walk into the field, as it's called, thinking, oh, I hope I get a sign-up today, I hope someone signs up with me. And that is, the mentality you have is hugely more important than your actual skill. You know, you can be a really good salesman, know all your lines, understand on a deep level, but if you're thinking negative thoughts while you're walking around the field, if you get into a bad mood while you're on the job, you'll ruin that. You'll really ruin it. And so a lot of sales is just learning to have that positive mentality that everyone wants. And I've been told a lot of advice about keeping a positive mentality on the field, on the job, and a lot of it I don't really like, to be honest. I find a lot of it is unhelpful. It makes it worse, and I think the kind of advice people give is different to what they actually use to keep their mentality good. Does that make sense? I feel like people can think it's one thing that helps them, but it's actually something else, and they just don't realise it. So it sounds a bit sort of I'm going out on a bit of a limb here, but I'll just to back it up. So basically, the kind of things that people will say is stuff like, just force yourself to smile in between doors, just think positive thoughts, positive affirmations and stuff like that. That's what keeps your mentality. This is the kind of stuff that they tell you, and I've got a lot of time for all these things. I think there's a lot of influence in smiling a lot. There's a lot of influence in telling yourself positive affirmations and stuff like that. But I think a lot of that is, when it comes to actually being on the field, it's too late. It's too late to solve your negative mentality with positive affirmations, for example, once you're on the field. Because you're already there, the bad emotion's already arisen. And you got to deal with it the trouble I find is you start dealing with that negative emotion by giving yourself positive affirmations, by, forcing yourself to smile like that. And you sort of tense up. You tense up. And you notice that it's not really working. And what happened then is you get into a bad mood about the fact that it doesn't work. So you're just perpetuating this bad cycle, and it just makes it worse and worse and worse. So the way I go about maintaining my mentality on the field, and we'll talk about this in sales, and then I'll sort of broaden it out to other things, is something that I've really had to realise under quite a lot of pressure. But basically, what I've realised is, just from reading certain books about this kind of stuff, is a lot of negative emotion is, if you just let it, you just need to let it be there, basically, and just let it do its thing, and just circle through the body, and then it'll disappear. Then you'll integrate it. It'll sort of integrate back into you, and you'll gain control of your emotions. Right. That's what I really believe. I believe that you shouldn't fight negative emotions because they're there to teach you a lesson. You know, they're painful, but pain teaches you something, right? The trouble is that in order for that negative emotion to really sort of integrate itself into you, into the body, you have to be really quite relaxed. And when I say relaxed, I don't even necessarily mean like sitting on the beach with a cocktail in hand. You know, I don't necessarily mean that. I just mean you're just in a kind of calm state of mind. You know, I just mean your body physically is relaxed. It's not tensed up. You know, you're not closing the front of your chest. You know, you're breathing deeply and fully. You know, so you need to get yourself into this kind of physical state to sort of integrate the sort of negative emotion into your body and just release it. And so I've had a lot of days in the field where I've had a bad feeling. I've felt I'm in a bad mood for whatever reason. And every part of my body just wants to keep on going. It just wants to keep on speaking to the next customer, you know, try and get one more pitch out, one more close out, you know, just really forcing it. And at that moment, I know I've done something wrong, you know. So I will just stop, you know, I will stop. And what I'll do is I'll literally go into a pub and have a Coke or something non-alcoholic. And I'll just sit there for however long it takes. And, you know, people have sometimes recommended me to stay 5 minutes, having a little reset, to really integrate with a negative emotion and sort of come up the other side. I think you need at least 15 minutes to really do the trick. And so that's what I do. And what I'm doing is I'm just sitting there, just having a drink, and I'm just being in a bad mood. I'm just not resisting that feeling. And if you're a bit like me, you're quite in your head, you can sort of not really realise this, but there's an enormously physical component to being in a bad mood. You know, it does feel, there's this kind of cold feeling in your body you get when you're in a bad mood. And once you're tensed up and you're sort of trying to ignore the emotion, you don't really feel it. But if you just sort of surrender to it, you relax, then you can just feel it all over your body. And it's not, you know, in a sense, it's unpleasant because it's a negative emotion, but it's really nice as well. You know, you feel very relaxed, and it's very beneficial to feel it, because once you start feeling it, it's doing its work now. You know, it's you know, every emotion we get is sent there to do something to us, right? And you know, now this emotion is being heard, it's being listened to, and it's doing what it needs to do in the body. There's nothing conscious that you can do other than just let it sort of, you know, rush over you, and just sit there. You know, don't distract yourself by going on your phone. Just sit there, having a nice Coke, taking in the surroundings. You know, just being very relaxed. And you know, there have been times where I've gone back out into the field after taking a proper 15-minute break, and I just feel so much better. Now, it hasn't always meant that I've made a sale. You know, I think there are other things I need to work on in sales. You know, it's a difficult industry, but I'm in a much better mood, and someone can be rude to me, or, you know, I can be on the back foot a bit, you know, and it, you know, I get lots of rejections, and it just doesn't affect me in the same way that it was before I took that reset, before I took that break. So, just to sort of really sum it up, I think your negative mentality, if you're getting negative thoughts, you shouldn't resist it. That's the worst thing to do. You know, maybe, you know, sometimes you need to push on, I understand that, but, you know, some point along the line, you've got to address the negative emotion that you're feeling and feel it fully. How do you feel it fully? You feel it fully by just allowing it to be there. And you have to be in a very relaxed state of mind to do that. So you need to do stuff that make you relax, basically, that put you in your body. You know, the example I used is just going to the pub and having a Coke or a glass of water or something, or, you know, whatever it is. And that's what works for me in the situation of sales. But I hope you guys can see, like, the potential, like, how you can apply this to different things, where you're on the back foot, you know, you've lost your attitude, your mentality, you're in a bad mood. And instead of fighting against it, you just accept defeat almost. And you just surrender to it. And once you surrender to it, you just come out the other side much better, you know. I think emotions are like kind of waves that go through our body. And if we're tense, you know, it's like the wave just kind of freezes inside you, and it's not allowing itself to express. But if you just slow your body down, you relax, that wave can just rush over you, and you'll find that you don't need to do very much active effort to keep your mentality, to keep yourself in a good mood. If you just let the emotion do its thing, you know. And that's the thing. I think we're all very repressed in a lot of ways. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching.